thank you guys so much for letting me join you all today. And thanks for the opportunity for letting a millennial like myself take a stage in a room of experts and share a little bit about what I've learned. Now, I've only been in the field a few years, but I hope that my experiences will resonate with each of you just as much as I enjoy learning from each of you in other sessions throughout the conference. For many years, our job as economic developers has been to decrease the rate of unemployment. We've done this in a few ways: expanding businesses, growing jobs, and creating a quality of life that our residents can really enjoy and an opportunity for themselves, their careers, and their families to thrive. In 2010, when I was working towards my master's degree in economic development, the unemployment rate in the United States had reached 10%, the highest in almost 25 years. At the same time, the Canadian unemployment rate peaked at 8.8%. Now let's flash forward to today. The Canadian unemployment rate is holding steady at about 6.3%. And last month, the United States reported an unemployment rate of 4.4%. You guys, we are doing exceptional work in each of our communities. But with this exceptional work, with businesses continuing to expand, I know a certain headquarter relocation has been mentioned 1 or 1,000,000 times in the past 24 hours. And with a large wave of retirement in our future, workforce development has become mission critical for the economic development professional. 4 years ago, I returned home to my hometown of St. Tammany Parish, Louisiana. You guys call those counties, to pursue my career in economic development. Prior to that, I'd spent almost a decade on a college campus as a student, staff member, and national leadership consultant. Workforce development is a natural passion of mine because for me, my work has always been about the people. Who does it impact? Why is it valuable? What does it mean to Susie and to Joe and to John? That passion became a personal ambition upon returning to my hometown, and I wanted to find a way to create a sustainable pathway from education and training to careers right in my own hometown. What I realized 4 years later, though, is that that work, that personal ambition, really is a strategy, a process that you can replicate in your community if you're ready and willing. So first and foremost, we have to identify the problem. And this is going to look different for each of us. So I challenge you to really look at what are the challenges in your business community? What have you heard through your business retention and expansion visits? What are some barriers to members of your workforce? Then take a deeper look at the data. What's the average age of your workforce? What's their education attainment level? What industries are reaching points of saturation? And what's the average commute time for your workers? In St. Tammany, when we took a look at our data, we saw that our problem was people. We needed a pipeline of education and training to careers right in our community. Simultaneously, data showed that we had an incredible volume of maritime companies in our community and in our region, but we didn't have a dedicated training program for that industry sector. My community chose to approach this problem on 2 different fronts: the Workforce Development Series and a maritime consortium created by the North Shore Technical Community College, our local community college. So when I first approached my CEO, Brenda Burtis, about the idea of a workforce development series, I was the newest employee in our office. I was the youngest employee in our office. I was a recent first-generation college graduate, and this was my very first proposal in this organization. So needless to say, the odds were not stacking up in my favor. Well, the first question Brenda asked me was, well, Ashley, how much is this going to cost the organization? I see a lot of giggles and smiles. That is usually the first question, right? And I assured her very quickly that the only thing it would cost the organization was my staff time and my sweat equity. Now, she didn't exactly greenlight the project, but she definitely didn't red light it. So I very quickly thanked her for the yellow light, and in 2014, I launched our workforce development series. Something fun about our presentation is these are real pictures from our workforce development series in our office. So these are real people that we work with day in and day out. So I mentioned we tackled this challenge on two fronts, but here's the difference of the way we tackled it. North Shore Technical Community College joined us at our workforce development series, and I sat as our organization's representative on the North Shore Technical Community College Maritime Consortium. In both cases, we brought individuals to a common table to talk about the specific problem that we had identified. Because the fact of the matter is, if you've got a people problem, then you really need a people solution. And that's where your role really kicks off as the facilitator of this initiative. It's up to you to find the people who are going to put this problem into action to create a solution that's valuable for you and your community. Take a look around at your current stakeholders, your current partners, people who are already working on this initiative or similar initiatives. Then look a layer deeper. Who are the people who are working on those initiatives? By this point, you might be asking yourself, well, what the heck is a doer? Who's a doer? Well, doers are individuals. They're not organizations. These are people who are curious, who like new tools, embrace new technologies. They're open-minded. They really like to listen, but they know when to speak up. And usually when they speak up, people tend to listen to them and what they have to say. Look for rising professionals with new ideas. Look for retiring professionals who know exactly what your community's been through, what works, what doesn't work. Look for colleagues and partners who have access to new and different technologies that you and your organization don't have access to. Look for concerned citizens. Look for engaged business leaders. Look for people who are really great storytellers, but who aren't afraid to share constructive criticism. Now it's time to talk about two of my favorite doers, and I'm actually pictured with both of them at our conference room table, Dr. William Wainwright and Dr. Tina Tinney, the Chancellor and Vice Chancellor of North Shore Technical Community College, respectfully. These are two of the most dynamic and innovative educators I have ever had the pleasure to work with. Every single vision that they have for education in our community comes with a long laundry list of action items to make that vision a reality. But what makes these individuals so different is that Dr. Wainwright and Dr. Tinney consistently follow up and follow through. And that's what makes them so dynamic. In this coalition and in this partnership, it wasn't just the three of us. We had to look further and look deeper. The Louisiana Workforce Commission plays a key and critical role. Our K-12 education partners. Obviously, North Shore Technical Community College, but we also invited other two-year community and technical education providers within our region to join our table. This included our university partners and business and industry. It is the inclusion of business and industry that makes this strategy, this process, so effective. In regards to that maritime consortium, we brought our business and industry partners to the table. These were the men and women who work in our maritime companies day in and day out. In some cases, it was the fleet manager. Other cases, it was the training manager, so on and so forth. But these were the men and women who really knew what they needed, what their biggest challenges are, and so we brought them to the table. Now, being an energy, oil, and gas state, a lot of these companies are legacy industries, and many of them don't talk. And there may be long-term generational reasons for why they have not talked. But in this instance, because their need was so great, they came to the table together to talk about the identified problem in order to find a solution, all around a common table. And your job as the facilitator is really to create that table. And it may be creating a table where one does not yet exist. This type of peer-to-peer environment may not be something that's already happening in your community. And it really falls to you to create that environment, to create that ecosystem of worker bees. So, like any good host, you want to extend a warm and hospitable personal invitation to join you at this table. How many of you guys, since you've been at this conference, probably already have 5 or so meeting requests sitting in your inbox, but you don't have all of your calendars to look at to confirm or deny those meetings right now? Y'all, we are busy, busy people, and so is everybody else. And so it takes that personal invitation to say, hi, I would really love for you to come join me at this event. Would you be able to be there? When someone's looking at you face to face, it's a lot harder to decline the invite, right? So invite them personally and one-on-one. Share with them what their individual value is. Sir, I need you at the table because you are an expert in this industry and you know better about this topic than anyone else. Will you please join us? Well, now you've made them feel really special and really appreciated. You've already got that buy-in a little bit to join you at your table. But here's the key. The people who actually want to do the work, your real doers, your action-oriented, get things done, cross things off the list people, they don't need to be wined and dined, y'all. Serve them coffee and water. They have places to go, they have people to see, they want to be here, they want to contribute, and they want to move on. Serve them coffee and water. Because this whole strategy requires $0, zero publicity, and zero ego. You got to be able to let it go and really listen to what your partners are saying. So now that you've sent out that invitation and you kind of know what's what, let's talk a little bit about the programming and what happens at the event. In our case, the Workforce Development Series is a sector-specific session. We chose it that way because we really wanted to make sure that we could take a deep dive on the data and on the information and not just skim the surface. For us, some of our sessions have included maritime, manufacturing, distribution and logistics, healthcare, and so on and so forth. And this should be reflective of what sectors are seen in your community. What are your real economic drivers? So now that you've invited your guests, now you know what your program looks like. Now everyone's kind of entering your conference room. Again, this is our conference room. We decided to host these events at our office because we wanted them to feel really comfortable and to learn more about what our role can be as an EDO. And Chris mentioned this earlier, that it's really about showing people what we do, who we are. And this was one way that we were able to extend that invitation. Now, even though this is being hosted at your office, and you are the facilitator, it's incredibly important that you do not sit at the head of the table in your own conference room. You're not the guest of honor. And in this situation, you're not the boss, but you are the facilitator. And it's a great opportunity to sit just to the right of center. So now that you've extended the invitation, you know where you're sitting, you want to make sure that you have more than enough chairs for all of your guests to participate at the table. This also generates buy-in. How many of you guys have been to a meeting where you've had to take a seat way, way, way in the back, but you had something that you really wanted to say, and you had your hand raised, and you're kind of coughing and doing this and that, trying to get someone's attention, and 20 minutes later, you still haven't been able to make your point because you weren't close enough to the action. You don't want this to happen in your room. You want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to participate. But please don't get discouraged if the attendance numbers aren't exactly what you wanted. Sometimes our room has been really packed, like you've seen in these pictures. Other times, there's 4 or 5 people. But in the moments where it's 4 to 5 people, those have been some of my favorite sessions because I learn the most. Because folks who might not normally stand up and share their insights in a larger group, they feel way more comfortable in that smaller setting. And we're really able to get to know each other and really connect on the topic at hand. So don't be discouraged by those numbers at all. You want to make sure that you have another one of your key stakeholders introduce themselves first, and have everyone in the room introduce yourself last. You want to know who's in the room, and you want all of your participants to be really comfortable to call individuals out by name, in a very positive way, of course. But you also want them to build relationships amongst themselves. Who knows, their organizations may have done business together in the past, but you guys haven't had the opportunity to connect as individuals. After introductions, you're going to want to hear from a subject matter expert. This is someone who's kind of going to kick off the dialogue with about a 20-minute presentation of data, trends, current information, and other coalition work that's happening. Jennifer Barnett of the Louisiana Workforce Commission is a common facilitator in our Workforce Development Series. She usually presents an annual workforce overview for our office that gives us the data and trends and the what's happening now in our community and kind of that 18-month window of what's coming down the pipeline. We also kindly referred to her as the data stylist, because if you need numbers and you need them quick and you need them specific, she is your gal, and she is a lifesaver to me and to our office. But by her sharing that wealth of knowledge, we're able to really focus on what really matters. Because if you've got a room of doers, it's not just enough to brag about past accomplishments. Small talk isn't really revving their engines. It's about connecting and collaborating. It's about engaging in real dialogue and real conversation that results in actions to move you forward and closer to getting to your real solution. And again, your role as a facilitator is to help foster that. Be vulnerable. Be authentic. Listen. Listen way more than you're talking. But encourage others to do the same. Generate real buy-in. Ask people to share their expertise. And make sure that you're thinking critically and being critical. And I know that might sound a little harsh, but if you're bringing these experts to the table and you're bringing these doers here, you want their real, honest feedback, not a really kind and fluffy answer. But don't get your feelings hurt when you get that very honest, very candid feedback, but know that it's all part of the process of moving your coalition closer to your solution. One of my favorite ways that we've been able to really connect and collaborate in St. Tammany is our Future Focus Camp. We work directly with our K-12 partners through our career and technical curriculum coordinators at our parish school board. We don't work with the school board elected officials, and we don't work with the superintendent, but these group of dynamic educators and their curriculum partners. So here you can see some of our talented career and technical educators pictured at some of our local business and industry. During the summer, so this is summertime, teachers are out of school. This is a volunteer basis that they come for 2 days, and we bring them to our business and industry partners. Y'all, our business and industry partners roll out the red carpet for these teachers because they know their business is only as good as their employees, and these men and women are teaching their future employees. And you all know in terms of relocation costs, it's a heck of a lot easier to employ someone from right there in your community than to have to relocate from someone across the country. So in these meetings, they're able to hear directly from the local business and industry leaders about what they're looking for in their talent, what skill sets they really need their individuals to come in the door already knowing. This conversation is ranging from what type of computer programs they need to be comfortable with to soft skills like showing up on time, wearing the appropriate uniform, and how to pick up a telephone and answer the phone appropriately, and around and around and around. But our teachers are able to bring all of this information, implement it into their curriculum for the fall semester, and send it right on to their students. It's also a great brand awareness opportunity because how many of you actually knew what the industries were in your hometown while you were in high school? I didn't, and I now work in my hometown. It was a whole different learning opportunity, and so we have to expose these students to those opportunities. And it's also giving us an opportunity to dig deeper at the data and what really matters. Because your doers are looking to do things, and they have to be able to commit to real results. We want to put everything we've learned into action. So what did we learn in St. Tammany? Well, we learned that the average welder was nearing retirement, challenging us to educate an entire new generation to the industry and the occupation. We also learned that information technology cannot merely be viewed as a sector in our community, but rather is a compilation of core competencies that impact all of our businesses in our community. So once you guys have heard from your speaker, you've shared around the table, now it's time to talk about what are we going to do and putting your action items together. Make sure that you are assigning tasks to individuals. That personal accountability of, oh, I'm supposed to run that report when I get back to the office and email that out to everyone, or I'll contact that person and follow up and invite them to the next meeting, whatever it may be. But you also want to follow up via email. You're the person who invited them. You're the person who scheduled the meeting. It's your turn to follow up and make sure that there is a next step. You're kind of the guardian of that. And so in that instance, I like to actually draft my email beforehand. So I draft my email before the meeting with all of my content, any information or data pieces that I may want to attach and send out to the group. Immediately after the meeting, I go back to my office, add in everyone's contact information, any salient points, any action items that we've assigned to folks, and send it out quickly. Because I don't want people to forget our conversation. And my hope is that they've really enjoyed themselves while they were in our room. They're feeling jazzed and charged up about what we've talked about, and they feel like good things are coming and it's on the horizon. And I want them to get that email while they're still experiencing that feeling. And I also want to be able to thank them. Again, we all know that commitment that being out of the office means. So I want to thank them for their time and remind them how valuable they are as individuals to this initiative. So here's some results in action. So our Maritime Consortium met, and we still continue to meet, actually. That initiative was launched in 2014. But in 2016, the Department of Education in the state of Louisiana approved the Maritime Associates Program with 2 tracks, a vessel track and an ROV track. And we are on track, actually, to graduate our first graduate in May of 2018 from this program. George Berkeley, and you can see him, he is in the picture on the right, first row, guy in the blue shirt. George Berkeley is the executive director of the Maritime Pilots Institute. He's been a member of the Maritime Consortium since its inception. George is also a professor of record in the maritime program at North Shore Technical Community College. And he is the brave soul that volunteered to take a group of students from New Orleans to Dubai on a study abroad program. Not only did this group include North Shore Technical Community College students, but it also included Sam Howard, who is a dual-enrolled high school student at one of our local public high schools. For some of the students you see pictured, this was their very first time on an airplane. Now, if that is not a real, tangible result, I don't really know what is. And so after your sessions, after you're back in your office, you really need to think about what are the results? What are we working towards? Who was missing from our conversation? Is there an organization that wasn't represented, but they really need to be at the table? And then you need to follow up and reach out to those individuals and invite them again. And then you have to look towards the next problem, because guys, there's always going to be a next problem. So you must assemble the next group around the next table. So 4 years into this, and 4 years into this, this is still really, really tough. It is really challenging. It requires a lot of hard work, a lot of time, and a lot of dedication. But what makes all of this worth it for me really does boil down to the people. And the people that I've been able to introduce you guys to today, those are my partners in coalition. And those real relationships and our true partnership has given me the opportunity to see our results in action via the students. Whether it be speaking at Career Day about an overarching look at workforce development and job opportunities in our community, or attending a sunrise breakfast honoring our scholarship recipients at North Shore Technical Community College. There is nothing more rewarding than seeing our business and industry partners investing in our students who've made a choice to advance their career right here at home in St. Tammany, who are looking for employment right there at home in our community. And knowing that them and their families will flourish is what drives me. And you can experience that too. Again, it's not easy, but it's totally worth it. But if not you, if not now, join somebody else's table and get to work if you're ready and willing to do the work. Because in order to find the doers, you have to be the doer. Thank you.